Hello, dear friends. Good afternoon. So, meeting all of you again in this session. Yesterday, we have discussed lot of things regarding the question and answer regarding the potency dilemma, repetition of the medicines, and few concepts regarding the repetition and potency. Today, we'll go ahead little bit. I asked you to put a questions, and there are very few questions are there today. So we'll have time with those, because those all the questions whatever remaining since yesterday and newly added questions we're going to discuss in today's session. First, before entering into the today's session, just a short revision regarding the yesterday's things, because 2-3 students have asked that, sir, just repeat regarding the when to use 30 potency, when to use 1M potency, or etc. Few laws which I have mentioned. If you judge the susceptibility properly, first important law one should not forget is that if susceptibility is high, potency should be high and less repetition. If susceptibility is low, potency should be low, and then the repetition is till the susceptibility is satisfied, till you repeat. That is the first law which we have discussed. It is a common thing with which you can think about it. In acute cases, generally, in an adult, you can go for a high if susceptibility is high. In case of infants, you can go for a moderate potency even though the susceptibility is high, because their strength, even though they are energy wise strong, their strength is comparatively less, and that's why you have to start with the moderate potency. And in case of old people, whenever the disease is at the pathological level or chronic disorder, at that time your potency should be low one. Or sometimes if pathology is advanced and you have to repeat and susceptibility is very low, then go for the LM potency or 50 millisimal potency. So these are the things which we have discussed in yesterday's lecture, and we have considered that there is no issue of fighting between all of you, because we are dealing with the dynamics, and dynamics depends upon that specific state, that specific time. And that's why if someone have given one remedy or in certain potency at a certain time, it might be a minimum for that time only. Tomorrow the patient might require any other potency, any other remedy, because state may vary. And that's why one should not comment that what other have given the remedy. If a patient comes to you from another homeopath, you must respect that homeopath. That is more important. Whatever may be the medicine given by that fellow, you should respect his prescription, because you don't know in which state patient went to him. And that's why criticizing him and gaining the confidence of the patient is a psychotic attitude. One should not do that. Instead of that, you tell them they have done their best, you are now here, let us discuss what is your present problem. And then you start discussing the things with the patient instead of commenting to them. So this is my humble request to all the budding homeopaths. Don't criticize any others regarding their prescription, regarding their potency. There was one good question regarding this. One student asked me that, sir, if a patient comes from another homeopath to us and we don't know what he has given, then what we can do. Second question was that if he has given the same remedy which we will going to give, if he has given in a certain potency which you don't know, in which potency we will give, and it might make a confusion in our mind. My suggestion is that instead of that, you take the whole case, find it out a remedy, and whatever remedy is there, according to his susceptibility, it is your duty to judge the susceptibility of that patient. to judge depending on all the criteria which we have discussed yesterday. So we have discussed number of things yesterday. It depends upon age, it depends upon type of disease, it depends upon which medicines which you are going to give to the patient, it depends upon circumstances, number of things which we have discussed in yesterday's lecture. So my suggestion is that whatever remedy comes out, and depending on all those factors, you select your potency and give it to that patient. Don't get confused what previous patient has given and there will be confusion or there will be problem. Nothing happens. He has given whatever remedy in whatever potency, that has given a stimulus to that patient. So that has created a certain state in the patient. Now patient is in front of you. He is expecting a remedy from you and you have to give him a remedy. You try your level best, you judge your best, judge him from your best and give the remedy. There is no need to get confused. So that's not the question. Second question was that if he comes from the allopathic practitioner and he has taken lot of allopathic medicine, is it necessary to antidote it? This was again one more question. I will say it is not necessary every time unless and until the state denotes. If you open the Naxwamika from Allen's keynotes, what he has said, if you have Naxwamika from Allen's, just open the book. The comment which he has made is very important. This is too important to understand. Giving a Naxwamika to every patient who has consumed allopathic medicine is a wrong thing. What he mentions over there is very clear cut. One of the best remedies with which to commence the treatment of cases that have been drugged by mixtures, bitters, vegetable pills, nostrums or quack remedies, especially aromatic or hot remedies, but only if symptoms correspond. That is been given in italics. It has its own meaning. So unless and until Naxwamika state is there, you should not prescribe that. That is too clear. So it is not necessary that to antidote the effects of all previous remedies and then start the treatment. It is not so unless and until patient denotes that state. So it depends. If a patient is suffering from severe acid peptic trouble because of all those medicines, and then it is necessary to give that to that patient that a nux, and if he is in that typical state of nux, irritable, angry, sensitive to noise, all those things of nux, then you can give. Till that period it is not necessary to give that thing. This is the dynamic aspect of the human being and material aspect of the human being. In yesterday's lecture, there was one question by Dr. Chandrakant. Sir, one of my patient, he suffers or he gets an aggravation immediately after giving the medicine. So whatever medicine he consumes, whether he takes the allopathic medicines, he gets aggravated. If he takes the Ayurvedic medicine, he gets aggravated, or he develops something dangerous problem. If I give homeopathic medicine, the same problem have been there, and then I have tried with placebo and same effect was there, and there was the people tells them, or those people talks with him that they are suffering from black magic done by the some were neighbors on them, and this because of this is happening. So really the black magic remains over there, or whether it affects. Being a homeopath, what is your opinion? If you are considering the dynamic aspect of a vital force and dynamic things as a homeopath, you must accept such a thing. If you are accepting dynamics, you must accept all dynamics. If there is a positive energy, there might be a negative energy which acts on you. It depends upon your constitution, it depends upon your state, it depends upon how strong you are or how weak you are at the level of a mind, and it starts working. If you know, if you feel yourself weak, and if you are reading such a thing and you are tremendously cowardice, fearful, certain things will going to affect you. It affects when you are a child. You find it out. You read a lot of gossips regarding the ghosts and etc. And being a child, you always fear to go into the dark at night. Even though you have to go in next room, you take someone along with you. Why? You don't know, this is not real, still you fear. Why it happens? It happens because you are weak, and thus in such a situation the internal body reacts accordingly. Whenever fear comes in your mind, immediately acute fear comes, there is a reaction either to fight or either to flight. फाईट करणं किंवा फ्लाईट करणं म्हणजे काय, तर फाईट करायची, वाद करायचे, भांडायचं, जिंकायचं किंवा पळून जायचं, ह्या दोनच गोष्टी. ह्या दोन्ही गोष्टींकरता गरज कशाची असते? व्हॉट इज द नीड फॉर बोथ द थिंग्स? इट इज अ स्ट्रेंथ, एनर्जी विच इज रिक्वायर्ड. अँड हाऊ दिस एनर्जी इज प्रोड्यूस्ड? Because of sudden fear, all of a sudden the adrenaline and noradrenaline gets secreted from your adrenal gland into the blood as a bolus, which immediately goes to the heart and produces the direct effect upon the heart to produce a palpitation or tachycardia. Heart beats fast. So if you remain over there, your heart is showing a palpitation, you get immediately a tremendous reaction of a palpitation, a fear or pride situation. If you want to fight with the situation, for that purpose this happens. Or if you want to run away from the situation, the same strength is required to run away. For that purpose the heart is getting stimulated because of this. And if person never runs, this energy is not getting utilized. If he remains in one place, it reflects in the form of a palpitation or frightful reaction. So this is direct effect of that thought, that fear which was there in the mind, and because of which such a thoughts someone imposes on you, it immediately affects you and immediately produces such types of reactions. So this is the common reason because of which it happens. Yes, such types of negative effects and positive effects happens. I'm quite sure that since last 15 days you are watching my lectures over here, and nothing is entered in your body materially. So whatever is happening is nothing but happening at the level of dynamics, and still immediately there is a effect. There are a lot of responses from the students, even from the practitioners. Sir, we are getting stimulated because of your lectures. What is that effect? It is also a dynamic effect. So if this is happening, the similar thing it can happen that someone tells you or someone frightens you because with such types of thoughts or such types of things, it affects. So positive things affects in the similar manner, the negative effects also happens on the human mind, and that's why people suffers because of it. Yes, certain incidences happens in that way. I recollect one thought or one thing which happened when I have started just lectures in the Kakasaheb Maske Homeopathic Medical College, and after 3, 4, 5 lectures, one of the students asked me one question. He asked me outside the lecture room, "Sir, भूत असतं का? तुम्ही भूत मानता का?" So I asked, why do you ask such a question? And then he said one incident. He said, "Sir, असं झालं, आमच्या रिलेटिव्ह मध्ये एक मुलगी होती आणि ती अचानक वेड्यासारखी वागायला लागली, रस्त्यावर पळायला लागली आणि कपडे काढायची, ओरडत सुटायची. हे अचानक घडलं आणि मग आम्ही तिला सायकॅट्रिस्टकडे नेलं. सायकॅट्रिस्टने तिला खूप डीप डिप्रेशन आहे असं सांगितलं. ही हॅज गिवन ॲलोपॅथिक मेडिसिन्स टू हर, and she was on allopathic medicines for that condition for nearly 1 year. But what happens, whenever she was consuming allopathic medicines, she was just lying in the bed whole day. She was tranquilized and she was not doing any activity. Whole day and night she was sleeping or sitting in one place. and then whenever she stopped taking the medicine, she again goes into the same phase again. आमचे बरेच नातेवाईक खूप जण आम्हाला सांगायचे तिला भूतबाधा झाली आहे, परंतु आम्ही आमच्या घरातले सगळे सायंटिफिक माइंडचे होते, ते काही मानत नव्हते. मग तिला आयुर्वेदिक ट्रीटमेंट दिली 6 महिने, तर आयुर्वेदाने काहीच फरक पडला नाही. मग आम्ही होमिओपॅथकडे घेऊन गेलो आणि होमिओपॅथी ट्रीटमेंट पण त्याला 6 महिने दिली, तरी काही फरक पडला नाही. आणि मग शेवटी काहीच वर्क करत नव्हतं आणि मग आम्ही तिला त्या शेवटी आमच्या नातेवाईकांच्या नादी लागलो आणि त्यांनी आम्हाला गुजरातमध्ये एका ठिकाणी घेऊन गेले एका बाबांकडे. त्या बाबांनी तिला पाहिलं, त्यांनी सांगितलं हिला भूतबाधा झाली, मी भूत उतरवतो. आणि त्यांनी बरीच पूजा केली, तिच्या अंगावर काही मंत्र टाकले, वेगवेगळे हातवारे केले आणि त्या दिवसापासून ती बरी झाली. तर भूत असतं का, असा त्याचा प्रश्न होता. अँड मी त्याला एवढंच म्हटलं, हा प्रश्न असाच्या असा वर्गात लगेच विचार, आपण त्याच्यावर डिस्कस करू. अँड देन आय हॅव डिस्कस सच अ थिंग for 1 hour in the lecture. I have explained that whether it is a bhoot or whether it is something else. So first thing that was an incident which happened because of disturbed vital force as per homeopathy. So she whenever she started behaving as a mental illness and she went to allopath, before that, according to our homeopathy, it is a disturbance at the level of vital force, because of which there was a derangement which was expressing in her behavior and presented with that. Allopathic medicines given, they were material, the disease was at dynamic plane, and treatment given at a material plane never works, never cures such types of patient. So what happens if it is not working? Then what do you do? Then you took the patient to the Ayurveda. They again gives the medicines, material medicines. Again it will not going to work because it is given in the material plane and patient was suffering from dynamic plane. Then they come to homeopath. Homeopathic medicines also are dynamic and they works at the dynamic level, but they are conditional. Unless and until they are simillimum and in right potency, they will not going to cure that patient. If it is wrong remedy, it will not going to cure that patient, and that's why she was not cured. What happened when she was brought to that fellow and he said that there is a bhoot badha, it is a ghost affecting the person. That fellow was a spiritually strong, having a lot of positive energy. And that fellow, when put a certain mantras or all those things on her body or on her specifically, it immediately reflected the same thing. The भूतबाधा या शब्दाला आपण व्हायटल फोर्स म्हणतो, त्यांनी भूतबाधा म्हटलं. कन्सेप्ट वॉज वन अँड सेम, इट इज नॉट डिफरंट की घोस्ट कन्सेप्ट इज डिफरंट अँड vital force concept is different. It is one and same. Only thing is that when you have used homeopathic medicine, it is wrong, and that's why as it was acting conditionally, it never worked. But certain spiritual energies which runs from positive energy to the negative energy always works unconditionally. And that's why there was also a question about the mesmerism in yesterday. Someone asked me in the group, sir, also highlight whether mesmerism is definitely there or not. So this lady recovered because that energy of the mantras, whenever you put certain mantras in a proper manner with the proper person who is spiritually strong enough, in which all positive energy is much more, at that time such energy acts unconditionally. Those mantras, the vibrations which produces over there again affects the human health and produces its effects. And that's why it has been told every time that mantras are asked to do, or the people gives you a mantra and they ask you continue with this regularly, it affects your body. Yes, it produces its own effects because of vibrations it produces whenever you are saying that mantra. And that's why the deranged vital force in her case was settled unconditionally, and she came out of the situation because it has acted in the same dynamic plane where she was deranged. So material medicine never cures the disease which has happened in dynamic plane, but a dynamic medicine can act, or a dynamic energy can act and recovers or restores that patient to the normal. So same thing is true with your patient, Chandrakant. It is black magic. Yes, it is. You can say black magic, you can say deranged vital force, whatever it may be. You have to make that fellow strong so that he never gets affected because of it. Lot of queries develops, a lot of questions comes out in such cases. मग मला मुलं विचारतात, सर ते अमावस्येला लिंबू मिरची बांधतात, बाहुली टांगतात, ते कशा करतात? Whenever we consider such type of things, what do we feel? We feel that we should not get affected because of such powers. Then if you say something like that की हे तुमच्या घरापुढे लावा, तुमच्या गाडीला लावा, तुमच्या दारापुढे लावा, म्हणजे तशी एनर्जी तुमच्यावर काम करणार नाही, असं तुम्हाला सांगितलं आणि तुम्ही लावलं, what you feel? You feel satisfied. Yes, it is there, now nothing will going to hurt. What has happened? It made a positive change in you. Now that I will not suffer, I will not get affected, and then it works. It works in this manner. It will not going to create anything, or because of which you get that because of that something has happened, you get a positive thing. Yes, now there is something because of which I will not suffer. This thought itself is created in your mind because of certain these measures which works at the dynamic level, and that's why these are the things which are done. So these are lot of dynamic questions which arises in our mind, and we have to find it out solution for them in such a manner. So this is nothing but the disturbed vital energy, because of which you become cowardice and you have to fight with the situation in such manner. So such types of energies, in every energy affects on you depending on your condition of a mind or your nature. So this is one more question which I have discussed with him. One more question was asked by some student ki if a patient is giving you a case and he's telling you all the details, you write everything, तर सर माझं म्हणणं आहे की पेशंट खरंच बोलत असेल कशावर? Whether patient is telling you everything truth, how can you believe that? Or second question was there, if patient is not telling correct, if you ask it to the relative, and how can you believe that relative is also telling you a right thing? My dear friends, this is very important thing, that if you are becoming a homeopath, you should develop a habit of reading the man. In fact, that's why we have organon in our homeopathic science or in our curriculum. And organon is nothing but the study of the human being, and it is the scientific study of the human being. You have to read n number of peoples. And how can you read? You have to mix with the peoples, you have to go to the peoples, you have to look toward them, you have to listen them, you have to read from the different books. It is not the homeopathic books will going to give you a knowledge about the human being. You read ample. I always suggest to all my students that you read other than a regular curriculum books. Those books guides you a lot in order to understand the human being in a proper way. If Pula Deshpande or Vapu Kale, these fellows have done the homeopathic course, I would say that they were the best homeopathicians in the world, because they knows the human being very nicely. If you read their literature, then you can understand that they have read human mind. And that's why it has expressed in their writings, in their vocabulary also it has been expressed. And this is what one has to do. What do? Our curriculum, if you read properly, our BHMS course, except pharmacology, it is the course of MBBS. But what do? We never study like them. We study according to the question and answers. We study according to the expectations. अपेक्षित काय आहे परीक्षेला तेवढंच वाचायचं, बाकीचं सगळं ऑप्शनला. Number of students keeps brain as an option in the anatomy and physiology. If you are keeping your brain as an option, how can you think and how can you become a homeopath? This is not the thing. So if you want to read a human being, what is needed is that you read your books thoroughly. That is the first important thing. And along with that, you start reading extracurricular books, and there are ample books which gives or guides you regarding the human mind, human being. व्यक्ती तितक्या प्रवृत्ती आणि व्यक्ती तितक्या प्रकृती असं आपण म्हणतो, आणि ते तसंच असतं. देर आर एन नंबर ऑफ पीपल्स प्रेझेंट ओवर इन दिस वर्ल्ड. Everyone is different, and you have to read every human being in that manner. So unless and until you understand human being, it is not possible to come to a proper remedy. And for that purpose, what is needed is to start reading the human being. Most common simple answer is that you start reading the books of Pula Deshpande or Vapu Kale. Both books gives you lot of life meaning or life of the human being, and that you, if you understand, starts correlating with your homeopathic mantra medica, then you will understand the human properly. Then your prescription becomes very simple. Then you understand whether your patient is telling you a right thing or wrong thing. Then you understand whether he was telling lie or whether he is telling truth. म्हणजेच काय, तर माणसं वाचायला शिकलं पाहिजे. Reading the human beings is the most important thing to find it out the solution for your question, that whether the patient is talking with you, it is a truth or it is a false. This happens sometimes. So always correlate clinically. In such types of patients, clinical examination is most important. If you examine him clearly and if you have a proper clinical knowledge, you can find it out whether the patient is telling you truth or not. So that's why there was one more question correlated with it, which was asked by one of my students. Sir, there is one question in my mind, that how to obtain this clinical knowledge. It is a big question for homeopathic students, because clinics, taking the clinics or doing a practical clinics have been not done in number of homeopathic medical colleges. It is in fact most important part in the knowledge, and we should be done. When we were there in our college, Dondoma Sate Homeopathic Medical College, the clinic was posted right from second year, third year, fourth year, and throughout the internship. All 3 years, second, third, fourth, we have clinics, and once you put in one batch, you will be there for till you finish your BHMS. So it was between 9:30 to 11:30, 2 hours, and every department was there, and we have 3 months surgery, 3 months medicine, 3 months homeopathy, and 3 months gynec obstetrics. And every branch of a medicine, every branch of a surgery clinic was there. And it is consecutively for 3 years. So in every department we used to learn with the patients, and there was running OPD with which we used to learn. And clinics, we have one more thing, that on the second year when we used to start with the clinic batch, they asked us to purchase few things. You must have your own stethoscope, you must have your own hammer, you must have your own BP apparatus, you must have your own thermometer, measuring tape. This should be there with you. And one more thing, clinical Hutchinson's book, Clinical Medicines, and one more book, that is the Clinical Surgery by K. Das. These are compulsory for us, and without that there was no entry for clinics. And because of which we have learned got very good clinical knowledge in our college, as well as we were working in hospitals where we got that knowledge. Question was that whether we do a allopathic practice or whether we do a homeopathic practice in during the internship or during these college years. I will suggest that whether you do homeopathic or whether you do allopathic, it doesn't matter whether you do a clinical examination or whether you are getting trained in clinical examination, whether with homeopaths or whether with allopaths, it doesn't matter. You must become a clinically thorough with anyone who used to teach you or who used to give you a knowledge regarding clinical methods. With anyone you should be acquainted and get knowledge regarding those things. And these books which I have told just now, that is the clinical medicine by Hutchinson and clinical surgery by S. Das, both are very, very essential for your clinical knowledge. Then question arises, then there was one more question regarding that. If we are not getting a proper clinical knowledge over there, if we do allopathic practice and we gain very good, it's too easy to gain that knowledge and to start allopathic practice, which is not possible with homeopathy, and that's why number of students never goes for homeopathy. So what should we do? My suggestion is that if you look towards the acute money or present situation money, yes, you feel that allopathy starts, if you start allopathy practice and you start gaining the money immediately, it's not so, dear friends. How much do you get? Even though if in present situation, if you start a new allopathic practice, if you give a prick, maximum you can get 50 to 100 rupees depending upon situation where do you start a practice. If you see at the start of practice anywhere allopathic practice, you will not get more than 10 patients per day to start with practice, and after 1 year if you are done, you are very sincere and you are doing practice, you are getting hundreds of patients in a day. And if you are charging 50 rupees per patient, how much you gain? You gain 5,000 rupees per day maximum. But if you start homeopathic practice as a consultant and with a proper setup, with a proper approach, you have started your own homeopathic practice, even though you have not got the 10 patients on the first day, you have started getting patients 1 or 2 over there, after gradually 5, 10, and gradually after 1 year you have achieved OPD of 15 to 20 patients regularly. But if you are taking a charge depending upon the situation, at present I am in my practice, at my setup, I used to charge nearly regular patient 2,400 or for cancer patients 8,000. But it depends, you are newcomer, you have started with 500 only if you consider for first patient. So with 500, after 1 year, if you go with 20 patients, you find it out how much you earn. And if you go on studying homeopathy in a proper way during this time, whenever there are no patients, if you are reading the books again and again, and if you are giving time to your patients properly, you start proper results, and automatically it reflects in the form of money. So I will suggest, if you study properly homeopathy and if you stop studying homeopathy forever your life, you earn a lot. There is no question of a money which is there. So these are the few answers for that questions. Then there are certain new questions which were asked. There was one question that it happens number of times that a patient comes to me with a lipoma or sometimes fibroid uterus, and I have started certain medicines and I have given Thuja, or along with Thuja I have given with Calcarea Fluor 6x, and sometimes as a constitutional remedy Calcarea Carb. After giving that, after some time, the patient 1 or 2 lipomas recovered, but there was a lipomatosis, and if there is a lipomatosis and their further progress is stopped, what to do in such situation? And we get generally we have a problem at that level. So what to do in such types of situations? First important thing is that if your remedy is acting properly, let it act. don't go on repeating so much. Yes, if you can repeat the biochemic remedy for long time duration, no problem, because at that time you are prescribing it at the not at the dynamic level, it is working at the molecular level and it is working by its own. So it helps a lot in dissolving such pathologies. Yes, definitely. There was again one question yesterday, how much time we can give the mother tinctures to the patient. First question is that why do you give mother tincture? If you are giving mother tincture for the palliative purpose, you give it for the palliation till your patient never recovers completely. If he recovers completely, you can stop that mother tincture at that time. So for example, if a patient with hypertension comes to you and you have checked his blood pressure and it is 220 and 100 by 110, and he was having a severe headache, it is definitely because of a hypertension, and you have taken whole case and you got the remedy, and patient's remedy might be aurum metallicum. You have given aurum metallicum to the patient. But if you prescribe aurum metallicum will not going to make a change within a day. In such situations where the blood pressure is so high, can produce its effects, or can produce sometimes complications such as a cerebrovascular accidents like a paralysis might be a result. So in such situations it is necessary to relieve the blood pressure very early. So in such situations, if you give a Raoulpia mother tincture to the patient to reduce the blood pressure along with a aurum met as a constitutional, and you continued for a certain duration the Raoulpia, and patient settles gradually, next time you measure it comes down, it comes to the 172 by 90, and then next future it comes to 150 by 90, gradually it comes normal 130, 86, etc. Now it is the time to reduce the doses of Raoulpia, and then you consider whether your aurum is acting properly or not. Whether aurum is acting properly or not, the answer, how can you judge? That is also one more question over there. If after giving this constitutional remedy, if the generality starts improving in the patient, definitely that remedy is acting. He should feel better at the mental level, because all mentals are generals. Mental state is improving. Patient is coming out of depression. Patient is started enjoying the life. His face changed. Earlier it was looking depressed, and now he enters in your room in a very nice face, happy face. It indicates that your remedy is working properly, because Raoulpia will not going to remove these things. Raoulpia will act directly on the arterial system, reduces the blood pressure. So it is the time to reduce Raoulpia. Instead of 15 drops, you make it 10 drops, check it again in next follow-up, then you reduce it to 7 drops, and in like manner you gradually definitely remove that mother tincture, because mother tinctures acts in under the primary action will going to produce only primary effect, that is the palliative. It is not curative. It is like allopathic medicine, only differing in that here you are giving in little bit less doses as compared to allopathic medicine, but it is on the same manner, on the basis of palliation you are using it. So mother tinctures, whenever you are using in such types of cases, those should be given till that period. The part of that question, that in lipomas or in uterine fibroids, if case becomes standstill, think about that, why it becomes standstill. If it happens that if there is a miasmatic block is there, then give the Nozod. Nozod, that is an indication basically for the Nozod to interfere. Nozod are the stimulants. They are the medicines which stimulate this process. So if your case is blocked, which miasm does it belongs to? So if it is lipoma, if it is uterine fibroid, generally which comes under the psychotic miasm. So in such types of cases, medorinum is the best booster in psychotic disorder. So give a 1 or 2 doses of medorinum, and then again revise the case. If it denotes the same earlier remedy, find it out that remedy and continue with it. If you feel that it is changed, it has been changed, find it new remedy and enter with new remedy and start giving the treatment. So it depends upon that situation whether the state remains to be same or different. If it changes, you have to change. If it remains same, again you have to start with same remedy. But in between, such boosters always helps the patient to come out of that situation. So this is one important thing one should not forget in such types of cases where your case becomes standstill. These things plays a very vital role. There was one question: how much role of this biochemic remedy is there in such types of cases? I say that definitely it plays a very vital role. I was using it since last 29 years in my practice, and I used to work it on the action of the remedy. I used to read only 2 pages of every remedy from Schussler's book. Schussler's 12 tissue remedies book. You must open it and find it out over there. The first introduction of every remedy till it has been written general biologico-chemical data or biochemical data or action, biochemical action. Up to that paragraph, you read by your heart, understand everything, what that salt will going to work in your body if you give it to the patient. If you understand that pathophysiology properly, then you can administer or you can practice whole practice only on biochemics throughout your life. If you understand it, it is not on the basis of symptom similarity basically. If you understand pathophysiology of each and every remedy, Schussler has given it very nicely in his book. So my suggestion is that if you read it, understands it and start using intellectually, definitely such things get the very clearly. So Calcarea fluor definitely will going to work in such types of cases. There was one question by Dr. Ajay Naik, who was my colleague earlier, when role of nosers as an intercurrent remedy, can you elaborate? Yes, intercurrent remedy, as an intercurrent remedy, noser definitely plays very vital role. Kent has given lot of things regarding it. There was one question, someone asked that Kent says that you give a tuberculinum in 1m, 10m, 50m, cm doses in a sequence after certain intervals to the children of tubercular miasm, and you will find that they will come out of it and they will remain healthy forever. Yes, nowadays in a modern era, you get this miasm predominantly. You never get. In Hahnemanian time, he says that 7-8 cases of a SORA were there. Now I will say 7-8 cases of tubercular miasm are there and only 1-8 cases of rest of the miasms. So, that's why nowadays children are very, very restless and intelligent. See the children, small children, and they uses your mobile. You don't know the functions of your mobile and they know the functions of your mobile properly at very early age. This is very typical of intelligence of a tubercular miasm. They are very, very, very restless and they want to get concentrated only when new things happens to them. So new things are given to them or we provide the new things to them. This is quite common. This is tubercular miasm. They are quite intelligent. These people always are inquisitive. These children are there in your OPD and they touches everything. They ask number of questions to you. What is this? What is that? They ask their relatives and they try to touch, go here and there. And once they touch, they feel satisfied. The interest is finished. They want new. You cannot satisfy their mind. Even if you give them something to play, for 5 minutes they are happy with that. They forget, or sometimes they are inquisitive. They opens up everything of that thing and find it out what is there inside. This is inquisitive tubercular mind. And for them, because of a hyperreaction of that miasm, they suffers because of recurrent respiratory allergies, recurrent asthma, recurrent coryza, recurrent cough, bronchitis. All those things are quite common. So giving a tuberculinum as a nosode during the summer weather, this is my understanding of a tuberculinum. You should not give the tuberculinum during cold weather when it is aggravation period. You must give it during summer weather in 1m, 10m, 50m, cm dose, a monthly interval, stops those tendencies. He becomes much more settled. Because of that, the restlessness gets little bit less, the concentration improves, and tendency towards such disorders settles with the help of that. So for these patients, you can use these nosodes in such a manner, but keep caution: during aggravation period, don't give nosodes directly. You should be given during a period when there is amelioration in such types of patients. So this is very important aspect one must think. One more point, just it came to my mind regarding the tuberculinum child. Interesting story. They are very intelligent and inquisitive. They ask you number of questions. One of the day, one of patient, she came to me along with her child who was just 4 years of age. And she laughed whenever she entered in my clean room. She said, "Doctor, मला आता राहुलने काय विचारलं सांगू का?" म्हटलं, "हो." माझ्याकडे येताना एक मेडिकल स्टोअर आहे आणि त्या मेडिकल स्टोअरचं नाव आहे साईबाबा मेडिकल स्टोअर. अँड दॅट स्मॉल चाइल्ड आस्क्ड हर मदर की साईबाबांच्या वडिलांचं नाव मेडिकल होतं का? So this was a very intelligent application of the thought that middle name is of a name of a father, and he applied it and asked the question. This is what is a tuberculinum child. So you have to understand all those things in a patient. So role of nosodes is definitely, it plays a very vital role in such types of cases. Generally, and which is useful in order to boost up a case, or sometimes the hampered case which has become standstill. At that time, in such types of cases, you have to go with these things. There are few more questions which were very important and intelligent questions. There was one question during case taking. Patient comes to you and patient tells that he is having pain, and he says, "I want only result for pain, I don't have anything." In such types of cases, how should I go ahead? Because generally patient says, "I don't have anything, how can I go ahead?" Second question was that, does question changes as per case or pathology? That is second question which was there. Then what is the best clue to confirm whether your remedy is right? That answer I have already given, that if generals of the patient improves after giving a remedy and patient improves at all levels, definitely your remedy is acting. One incident I recollect now, just now, this is too important. There was a patient, a case, a fellow came to me who was a teacher and very good speaker. If there are lakhs of people are there and if he is talking, everyone used to listen him. He was very good orator, and he came to me with a lot of depression. My whole case he never laughed, even not smiled. And case whole case, it was nearly about 1.5 hours. I took the case and everything he detailed, and what are the problems he faced. A number of things he explained with me. And at that time, a very important thing he told me, "Doctor, you know that I am a very religious person. I do a sadhana every day at 3 o'clock in the morning. And what is happening since last, why I am getting so much of disturbed, I will tell you. I am sitting for sadhana at 3 o'clock. I used to go into a meditation, and I forgets myself. And what happens, since last 1.5 months, what is happening, there was a lamp over there in my meditation. It comes up and gradually it starts decreasing, and at last when it used to stop, all of a sudden I comes out of that meditation, and it disturbs me a lot. So because of it, I'm feeling that it is, whether it is related with my life and whether my life is going to finish or something, I'm so much disturbed because of that. So I have given remedy to him. Depending upon whole case, I have given prescribed lachesis to him. After giving lachesis, after 10 days when he came for follow-up, he entered in my consulting room with a big smile on his face. Doctor, तुम्ही जादू केली, जादू माझ्यावरती. He talked in that sense. Doctor, तुम्ही माझ्यावर जादू केली. I cannot tell you in everything, anything, but I can immediately, you can find on my face that I'm absolutely healthy as before I was there. And then I asked everything, and then he told, मी तुम्हाला एक ड्रीम सांगितलं होतं, मी स्वप्न सांगितलं होतं. हो म्हटलं, येस तुम्ही सांगितलं होतं. Then he told, what is happening, do you know? Now I go to the sadhana at night, I sit there, and there is a lamp which starts developing, and its flame comes up, and there is whole light everywhere thereafter. And it was very nice expression that your remedy has touched his inner conscience, and patient came out of the situation. So in this way we can understand the patients in a proper manner, whether your remedy is acting or whether your remedy is not acting. So this is one important thing. The first question, I have nothing but pain, then what to do? Basically for that purpose, a good case taking you have to learn. You should able to get a well communication with the patient, then you can understand the patient. Otherwise, if you do a mechanical case taking, what happens generally in our colleges, we do a mechanical case taking either, or we do a dynamic case taking. You know what is dynamic. So patient is not there and you are writing the cases, that is called as a dynamic case taking. And if there is a patient, there is a form which is there and you do it, just you have to do it, or you are forced to ask to do it, you do a mechanical case taking. And the way you start questioning, it is like that. What is your name? Okay. What is your age? What is your sex? So this is the thing you ask. And what happens? This is because of which you get hampered, you stopped over there. You have to become familiar with the patient. And becoming a familiar with the patient gives you lot of things from the patient. So how to become a familiar, how to get attached with the patient, this is in fact an art, and that you have to develop. You have to learn it from number of books, you have to learn it from number of homeopaths, you have to learn it from lot of allopaths, whoever it may be. Everyone can be your guru, anyone. You have to become very fast. Your rubric should be witty. Witty, WITTY. Witty म्हणजे काय? हजरजबाबी. When patient enters in your room, he is in a stressed situation, and when you say something which relieves the stress in his mind, going to give details about his case taking or about his things. So what is the thing which you have to do? I will tell you few incidences how the patient comes. There are a number of varieties of patients comes to you and they talks anything to you. They utters any sentences to you. You have to catch them and immediately you have to react. That is the situation, so that it becomes very simple. One of the patient, he comes and enters in Marathi language. This is difficult for Hindi peoples to understand. I will tell you, but still this is in Marathi. He said, Doctor, Sangamner, Nashik, Nagar, पुणे, मुंबई सगळेकडचे डॉक्टर पालथे घातलेत आणि आता तुमच्याकडे आले. मी त्यांना एवढंच म्हटलं, मग आता आम्हाला पालथं घालायचं का? So this is very typical thing. Just simple joke, simple entity sentence makes the things. He laughed a lot immediately when I uttered such a sentence. He immediately reacted, and thereafter he becomes very familiar with me. So this is how it should happen. This should be very easy. You should be able to touch him immediately whenever he enters, and that is very important thing. One patient came one of the day and he entered and he said, "Doctor, बसा बाबा म्हटलं." He was nearly about 55-60 years of age, from a village, entered and sit in front of me. I have asked question, what has happened? म्हणजे मराठीत मी विचारलं, काय झालं बाबा? The way he talked was very important. ते जर कळालं असतं तर तुमच्याकडे कशाला आलो असतो? See, this is very important thing. He has given you a case at that time only. He has started arguing with you at that same moment. How will you fight, or how you will handle such situation? This situation is very important situation. If you then everything is obstructed. Now there is communication gap which can develop if patient talks in such a sense. You have to utilize your intellect and you have to go ahead. I said, let us sleep over there, lie down over the clinical टेबल. मी त्यांना झोपवलं, ब्लड चेक केली, BP घेतलं, ऑस्कल्टेट केलं, then I asked my assistant, give this medicine to the patient. I said just like that. And then that fellow asked me, doctor, for what purpose you are giving medicine? I have understood. I know that now that you what are your problem. Oh बाबा, मला तसं नव्हतं म्हणायचं, मी मजा करायला गेलो. Then he started expressing the things. So this you have to be very quick and alert at that time to react to such situation, so that you can remove that block and you can enter into the patient and you can get a lot of things. And whatever patient says sentence, that understand in properly. If he talks like that, what is the, yes, Sanjay Dada have mentioned audacity. Yes, very perfect rubric for this situation. The person is audacious, uddhate. And this happens quite commonly. There are certain people who talks with this rubric. There are multiple examples which happens to be there. I used to tell you lot of examples, funny examples happens with this rubric, and you will never forget this audacity in your life if you listen one more example. So this is a block which you have to remove, then you can enter into the case and you can get a lot. Yes, defiant is also one more rubric you can think of in such types of patient. One incident can happen in a one day. One fellow came to me and asked me, doctor, सकाळपासून 4-5 वेळेला जुलाब झाले. So then I asked, what is your natural common question? Normally you have to differentiate whether it is a diarrhea or whether it is a dysentery. So naturally your question is that की कसे झाले, पातळ झाले का चिकट झाले? What should be the answer you expect? You expect either it is a watery or it is a dysentery mucoid. He answered, डॉक्टर खाली वाकून नाही पाहिलं. See, this is audacious. This is fajil detpana. This is the patient talks in such a manner, and then you have to, whatever this has been uttered is useful for your prescription. That you have to catch from the patient. Yes, this is very typical. What patient used to tell you, this is audacity, that you have to understand. And I have given him a mark and he came out of the situation very easily. You don't get disturbed. अरे हा patient असा का बोलला? Then you are reacting. Then your remedy comes out. This should not happen. You have to understand the way patient talks, you have to catch. So number of times it happens that if patient is not giving you history, you get familiar with the patient, talk something other than his problems, automatically you start getting the patient's nature, and that nature will guide you towards the remedy. Does question changes as per case or pathology? Yes, answer is definitely yes. Every individual is different. You should not fix your questions. That is my suggestion. It should start anywhere. Sometimes it happens, patient enters in your room and he starts giving you certain thing. If he starts automatically and he was giving you certain things, don't disturb him. Let us listen to him, what he is giving, what he is telling, what he is answering, because that is most important thing which is coming from inside of the patient, and giving his details are you are getting as it is, which are very important for your prescriptions. So don't disturb at that time. What is needed at that time is nothing but the good listening. You should be good listener. It is not there is no fixed rule in case taking that you should ask first name and then you ask age and sex and all details like that. It is not like that. You have to ask the questions according to a case. If you don't disturb till he comes to a standstill. If he stops somewhere, then if you feel that if you touch at that level, you can elaborate further. Don't make a habit that it is necessary to ask name immediately. At the end of case taking, you can take fulfill preliminary data. So it should start wherever you get a key. There is no fixed formula with which you approach in your case taking. Then question arises, what is the need of a case paper? Yes, case papers are necessary because of that you can at the end you can find it out what is remaining in the case. You can fulfill, you can watch, you can go over there, find it out, everything is fulfilled, and if anything is not yet completely touched, you can touch that area and find it out, that fulfill that. For that purpose the case paper is there. And second importance of case paper is that because of case paper you can write it down the proper things in a proper place, so that it will be easy to recollect while making the totality of the symptoms. And for that purpose, writing it on a case paper which is already written over there is very important. But it is not necessary it should be written right, or it should be in order right from start to end. Anywhere you get the key from the patient, and with that key you can enter into the case. So what is that key? That is very important thing. So if a patient comes, डॉक्टर काय झालंय कळत नाही ना, जसं टेन्शन वाढलंय ना तेव्हापासून मला खूप बेचैन झाल्यासारखं होतं, छातीत सारखी धडधड होते. बस, patient has given you clue. What is tension? Finished. He has started with tension, finished. You enter into this tension and go ahead. You get the remedy over there. You get not the remedy, you get the chance to enter into the case and elaborate the mentals. There is no need now to go and ask that patient, what is your nature, तुमचा स्वभाव कसा आहे. It is not the thing. It is very important that key itself is sufficient, that patient has given you key, catch that and enter into the case, complete whole his mental psychological aspect, and then go on asking the name and all those details for what purpose he comes to you. So this is the point where you have to enter. So as per case it varies, as per pathology it varies. Every time the case might be different. So these are different questions which were there on the group. There was one question again asked by someone, doctor, regarding the nosodes also, can we prescribe in cases of acute nosodes? It depends from case to case. If it is not a nosode which you are using to boost up the case, if it is on the basis of symptom similarity, you are getting directly a tuberculinum. Yes, you prescribe tuberculinum in such types of cases. Sometimes it comes that yes, this is the remedy with which it is coming to you. Yes, only thing is that it should not be given too low. What is the reason? Reason is that it should not be given in too low, because these are prepared from the deceased products, and as it has been prepared from the deceased product, you should not give that material deceased entity in the material form to the patient, and you should give just a dynamic reaction which has happened after giving a dynamic potency to the patient. And that's why nosode should not be used below 30. It should be used above 30, 30 and above 30. All potencies you can use. So nosodes you can use in such types of patients accordingly. So I think I will revise whether I have left any questions out of that. There was one question was remaining. Yes, I think it has been asked by Vibhavari. Sir, there are few terminologies are there. Rheumatic colic or rheumatic headache, what is it? In materia medica it happens. Rheumatic colic is rheumatic like pains while in the colic. Sometimes it is associated with rheumatism, it is rheumatic colic. Sometimes it looks like a rheumatic pain. So rheumatic pains means of a muscular origin. So there is a pain, not internal abdominal in colic. It is because of abdominal musculature producing a colic, which is called to be a rheumatic colic. So that is same is true for the rheumatic headache. During the rheumatic phases, the headache is quite common, which can be considered as a rheumatic headache, or sometimes it is the scalp or head as a membrane or as a muscle, it used to pain, that can be called as a rheumatic headache. Sometimes it starts from the nape of the neck and then goes up in the muscles over there, and it is not from inside, it happens over there. That might be a rheumatic headache also. So that is one question which was there asked regarding the things. There was one question. The patient told that doctor, I'm taking your medicine. Before taking your medicines, I was taking allopathic medicines and there were no side effects, but someone told me to take homeopathy, and now I am taking your homeopathic medicines and there are no side effects of homeopathic medicines. Everything was okay, but now during lockdown period I cannot come to you, and I went to an allopath for my some problem, and they have given me medicine and I immediately suffered from the side effects. So whether it has happened because I was used to with homeopathy? No, it's not like that. It is not so. Only thing is that what happens in patient's mind, it is that if they are taking homeopathy, they are safe, and when they will going to take the allopathy, they will get suffered from it, and because of which such thing happens. So such a thing, it is not because of homeopathic medicines the side effects of allopathic medicines increases. It is not thing. Only thing is that patient susceptibility can be satisfied. He starts reacting to the situation normally, and at that time, yes, a person can react to allopathic medicine in such manner. It might be because of his susceptibility, which was low enough. Now he has been satisfied because of your homeopathic medicine, and that's why he may react to the situation. That may be the possibility. There was one comment by Dr. Sanjay Jadhav that Soranum 12C can be used. Yes, 12C theoretically, yes, 12C you can use, because after 12C it becomes dynamic. But with caution one should use. 30 is quite safe as compared to 12C, because you are not damn sure that you are going to get to 12C only. That is also a problem number of times, and that's why better to start with little bit high 30. So that's why I have suggested that. All questions, I think I have finished a lot of questions which are mentioned over there. If anyone is having the question in live chat, they can ask regarding things, so that we can discuss that also if anything is mentioned. Delusion wrong has suffered. that is the rubric which has been mentioned over there, or whether you want answer for delusion wrong has suffered. In fact, if you will learn the delusion wrong has suffered in this rubric, it is a complete one seminar I have given with this rubric delusion wrong has suffered, and I have compared 4 remedies which are mentioned over there: the hyoscyamus, lachesis, nausea, and I think one more, so which I have compared while explaining the delusion wrong has suffered at that time. So I think lot of questions regarding the things which we have cleared up till now. So we have learned number of things regarding the homeopathy. We have learned the materia medica, how to learn the materia medica, how to enter into the Sower's books. We have learned Allen's keynotes. We have learned Boyck's materia medica. We have learned Adolf Lippe's books. We have learned it from N.M. Chaudhary's books. Kent's materia medica we have touched. So number of books, Sower books I have mentioned to you regarding that while discussing all those regarding homeopathy in last 15 days. Last 2 days were more related with the question and answers and related with the organon, little bit organon, little bit queries in the mind. Tomorrow I will going to discuss regarding the organon, and in organon basically we're going to learn important things. But tomorrow's lecture, how to learn organon and what is organon and how to enter into the organon, that I will going to discuss with first only first aphorism from the organon of medicine, that we will going to discuss, so that you will get a habit of how to read the organon and every line of organon. So tomorrow's lecture, you will feel that, sir, it is quite boring. We have learned a lot regarding first aphorism. It is still there in my mind that physician's high and only mission is restore the sick to health, to cure as it is termed. Yes, I know that. Everyone knows. Everyone knows the thing. Let us see how Dr. Rasal elaborates this first aphorism and how much time he takes first aphorism to discuss. So we will meet tomorrow at the same time, 2:30, with the organon of medicine, with the introduction right from the organon, how to learn organon, how to enter into the organon, and how to go ahead and how to understand aphorism. And thereafter, there are lot of things which have been asked that, sir, please take one lecture of case taking. Yes, definitely we will do that later on. I am quite sure about it, that I will going to highlight the case taking part also. So till that period, thank you all of you being there. Lot of teachers are also there, even colleagues are there, even friends are there, and students are there. For them, without you, it is not possible to come over here in such platform. And thank you very much for sharing all those things. Share it with all of your friends, whatever we have discussed. Please subscribe our channel so that you can get it again in one place, and you can share it with your friends. Ask them to contribute, and so that we'll go ahead with the knowledge of homeopathy. Till that period, thank you once again. Thanks a lot.